look, there was a riot that occurred at the Capitol. And so, what do we need to talk about there? It's the same thing that I said after day one, which was, look, there was intel that we knew about. That's now you're starting to see some of that come out. Pelosi knew about it. The Democrats knew about it. That's why the Trump administration was willing to have National Guard ready for the Capitol. That's not unusual. It happens when you have big protests, especially or when you're getting ready to have an inauguration. It was the first time that I'd never seen. I mean, they put up the fences for anything, right? I was there for 2 decades. I mean, oh my God, there's going to be a protest at the Supreme Court. Boom, they do like a double fence. If you've been to Washington, D.C., the Supreme Court's essentially right across from the Capitol. They'll put like double fences up, get plenty of security. That's just for a Supreme Court protest that, for a few hundred people. So the fact that they had the intelligence, they had approval for the National Guard, there was no fencing put up. And now the way that they're going about all this, when you got this guy, so it really appears like Russia hoax 3.0. It's just like another version of it.
All right, so before we dive into the tech stuff and sort of what shifted you in your career and all that, I have spent literally 0 cumulative minutes talking about January 6th on my program. To me, it is a complete distraction. It is impeachment number 3. It is going to end with nothing going anywhere. It's going to make a set of sort of very confused people about the principles of America even more confused. But because you've been in this with Trump for a while, because you've been trying to fight disinformation, because you were involved around the impeachment trial and all of those things. Is there anything you'd like to just say about it broadly or specifically? Because I just feel that I have no need to entertain this. That's really just how I feel about it.
Yeah, well, I think you're right to not entertain it. I think kind of my quick thoughts are this: the institution in Congress and all the institutions in Washington are collapsing. All right. So kind of what we just talked about with California, it's happening in our nation's capital also. And what I say is we've just entered a dark chapter of American history right now that started in that 2015-16 timeframe with that first piece being that people within the FBI and DOJ thought it was perfectly okay to get involved in politics and frame a presidential candidate and ultimately the entire Republican Party. So it started with, it's a dirty trick, get the FBI to participate in it, get informants to participate, walk all this stuff into the FBI and the DOJ in different locations like what came out in the recent Sussman trial, fully engage the fake news media with it. But at the time they just justified it in their own mind. It's just Donald Trump. So nobody cares about that. Let's just write crap about him and crap about him and crap about him. And first it started as let's just call him that he has ties to Russian oligarchs. And then suddenly they moved that because there were no ties to Russian oligarchs and say, well, what the hell? Let's just say he has ties to Putin, because they knew that Hillary Clinton's emails, they were afraid that, by the way, they never actually came out, the emails that the Congress had an actual investigation going on to because she destroyed a server, an illegal server, taking you back to that time frame, right?
Yeah.
So from there, it just got worse, right? I was the one who essentially came out on day one, or probably day second or third week, and I said, Russia stuff. What the hell are you guys talking about? Like, I was just 6 months prior to this, you, Obama, and your whole crew wouldn't do a damn thing about Putin as he invaded Crimea. He was involved in Libya. He was involved in Syria, and we won't get into foreign policy discussion here today, but I knew it was pure, utter, I think I can say bullshit on your show.
You can say it.
So I knew it was total bullshit because, I knew, because as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, I knew what they weren't doing. So you can't come out right after the election. We were told, hey, nothing unusual. Yeah, Putin's a thug. He's a bad guy. He messes around. I mean, it's not unusual for him to mess around in elections. But, all they really found at the end of the day that Putin did was, he bought a few Facebook ads, which, by the way, weren't even in the states that mattered, right? So that was the extent of actual hard evidence that we had on the Intelligence Committee. We didn't have anything else. And that was the position of the officials in the FBI and the other intelligence agencies that we worked with, until they decided to turn on the operation. So they ran a dirty trick all through the campaign, and then they just doubled down with the full power of the FBI and DOJ, and you know the rest. And I had to take the brunt of that, and we exposed it all. Then it led to Mueller. The Mueller investigation, total corruption, right? They couldn't find, they couldn't find anything on Russia, but they found plenty of process crimes that they went after people on. I had to sit out there every single day. You know how hard it is when you've got 95% of the media that is listening to Democrats in Congress and people within the former intel people, current intel people, retired four-star generals, who would constantly come out and say, well, I can't tell you what I know, but it's really bad, right? And I had to sit there and say, no, you guys are lying, right? And you're totally full of it. So, I had to sit there and withstand that, so that Mueller hoax, and then it goes into impeachment. The whole Ukraine impeachment was a whole nother debacle. And then look, there was a riot that occurred at the Capitol. And so, what do we need to talk about there? It's the same thing that I said after day one, which was, look, there was intel that we knew about. That's now you're starting to see some of that come out. Pelosi knew about it. The Democrats knew about it. That's why the Trump administration was willing to have National Guard ready for the Capitol. That's not unusual. It happens when you have big protests, especially or when you're getting ready to have an inauguration. It was the first time that I'd never seen. I mean, they put up the fences for anything, right? I was there for 2 decades. I mean, oh my God, there's going to be a protest at the Supreme Court. Boom, they do like a double fence. If you've been to Washington, D.C., the Supreme Court's essentially right across from the Capitol. They'll put like double fences up, get plenty of security. That's just for a Supreme Court protest that, for a few hundred people. So the fact that they had the intelligence, they had approval for the National Guard, there was no fencing put up. And now the way that they're going about all this, when you got this guy, so it really appears like Russia hoax 3.0. It's just like another version of it. You've got this guy, Ray Epps, who clearly was inciting people. The guy's not even being arrested. He's not even being interviewed. I mean, nobody just seems to know anything about him. The dude's living out in Arizona. I mean, that's just one example of what appears like there was some type of federal involvement in instigating the riot. So, and when I say the riot, it should not be hard. There's some 14,000 hours of videotape that I have called for the last, when I was in Congress and now and even today, like, release it. They won't even show the Republicans the videotape, right? So they're selectively showing tape. I mean, there's cameras all over the Capitol, Dave. That just so you know. I mean, there's plenty of video because of however, we never even got the exact number of how many people went into the Capitol. But what I've said from day one is release the videotape, and the people that I want busted and prosecuted are the ones who were fully masked up. They somehow had exactly the location to go to, and they had exactly the tools they needed to break windows. And to this day, I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I mean, it changes every day, but I'm not sure they have located those what appear to be maybe 2 to 3 dozen people at different doors that broke those windows. I mean, those people should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. We still don't even know who the hell they are.
I sense, though, what you're saying subtly is that they might be feds, right?
I don't know who the hell they are. We don't know. I mean, I know the Epps guy. That's clearly fishy, right? I mean, he's living out in Arizona somewhere, and hell, the night before he's on videotape with people, Trump supporters that were out there for the rally. Which, by the way, the idea that President Trump, or anyone else would hold a rally on our nation's mall in Washington D.C., that's only out of the norm when Trump does it. Right? I mean, there are rallies there. I was just there. this past weekend they had the Pride rally and they had some gun rally. I think last time I was in Washington D.C. they had like a police officers for fallen police officers rally. So the idea that it's like unusual somehow that people can have rallies. That's at the cornerstone of our democratic republic here, right? And if you go back just 4 or 5, 6 months before, you had BLM riots who destroyed the Capitol, shut it down. I damn near got attacked, coming out of when Trump gave his nomination speech in Washington, D.C. just months before. So, the idea that suddenly now, you can't have a rally, that's nonsense, okay? So I just go back to what crimes were broken. Well, clearly the people who broke the windows. The rest of the people, a lot of the people had no clue that they couldn't go into the Capitol. Because look, the Capitol is normally open for the public, except when, like during COVID, when Pelosi has, closed it down. So I just go back to release the damn videotapes. Tell me, what did Pelosi know? When did she know it? Let's find out who are these guys like Epps. There's several of them. Who broke the windows? That's where you need to start. But like going after people who were just out there pissed off about the election. Let's not forget, you still have people who have not accepted the election from 2016 because they believe that Trump and Putin and Russia all stole this. Why? Because these liars, like Pelosi and others, told the American people that. The media went along with it, and they brainwashed people all over this country. So anyway, that's all I have for January 6th.
I yearn for those good old days of 2017 when Hillary was allowed to tweet that Donald Trump is an illegitimate president and it would not get taken down from Twitter. When Stacey Abrams would say she won the gubernatorial race in Georgia and it would not get taken down. You used to be able to question these things. If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.